Almost all of us will enjoy watching a good sprint finish, whether it be on television or even on the roadside. Riders battling it out in close proximity, rubbing shoulders at over 60 km/h as they come towards the finish line. They make it look easy, however there are a lot of complications before you get your sprinting right. Timing, positioning and spatial awareness are all just as important as your maximum power output. So here is our Race Smart guide to getting the most from your sprinting.
The first thing to know is that you need to save as much energy as possible before you launch your sprint. If you've spent a lot of time riding in the wind, then it's unlikely you're going to be fresh enough to give it your all in the last 200 metres. Try to use teammates or even your rivals to shelter behind, and if you feel that you need to be close to the front, then try to latch onto their wheel in order to get an armchair ride. We will often see the best sprinters in the world launching their sprint at 200 metres to go. However, they're almost undoubtedly going to be going faster than you on the run into the finish, so it's likely that you'll need to launch yours a little later in order not to start fading as the line approaches. Know the circuit and the weather conditions. On a closed road circuit, the point at which you launch your sprint will depend on the wind conditions and the gradient to the finish. If it's a tailwind, you can afford to start sprinting a little further from the finish, partly because you're going faster and partly because the riders behind you won't be getting so much shelter. Conversely, if it's a headwind or a slight uphill gradient, then you'll want to leave it as late as possible before making your move. Sprinting is inherently dangerous, so we'd like to recommend you to stay safe. Risking life and limb, and especially your £5 bike, probably isn't going to be worth it. Try not to make any sudden movements within the group, especially to the left or right. The group will be tightly packed as you approach the line, so it's likely that wheels will be overlapping, and any sudden movements will cause a huge crash, so hold your line. Likewise, don't be slamming the brakes on unless it's absolutely necessary. When we watch the sprints and the Grand Tours, the best riders will normally have a strong lead-out train to gradually increase the speed as they approach the line. In domestic British races, this is a rare luxury, and so you'll have to be a little more clever. Momentum though is your friend in sprinting. It doesn't matter if you hit the front and launch your sprint at exactly the right time, if somebody behind you has got more momentum and is travelling 5 miles per hour quicker. Try and gauge the way that the bunch is swaying and moving around you, and you'll soon learn where to be at the right time and which side of the bunch is moving quicker. Positioning is absolutely crucial when it comes to sprinting. Of course, not even Mark Cavendish can start a sprint in 80th position and have a hope of winning the race. It's a talent which comes far easier to some than to others. We've already mentioned about hitting the front at the right time, but how do you get there? Well, one of the worst things that can happen is to get boxed in. This means getting stranded in the centre of the group with no way of getting out to actually sprint. In this situation, you can only hope that the gap opens up in front of you. Try to remain close to the side of the bunch with your wheel just slightly to the outside of the person in front of you. When it comes to actually launching your sprint, you want to make sure that you're in the right gear. Too hard and you'll struggle to make that jump that you need, and too easy and you'll have to change gear mid-sprint, which will slow you down. Finally, give it everything. So you've got everything right, you've positioned yourself well, you've hit the front at exactly the right time and in the right gear. Now what do? Well, that's easy. You have to give it absolutely everything you've got. That initial spurt should be as hard as you can possibly go, trying to put some daylight between yourself and those around you. There's no point in pacing this last 10 seconds, you want to get to maximum velocity as soon as possible and let momentum take care of the rest as you begin to fade. Make sure you sprint through the finish line and avoid sitting up. It's all part of racing smart.
Positioning yourself well in a sprint is vital if you want to do well. It doesn't matter if you're the fastest sprinter in your group if you've wasted all your energy before you come close to the finishing line. So here is a Race Smart guide on how to do it right.